Hey everyone, this is Ian Miller, and welcome back to another episode of Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel. I'm here with comic writer and creator Jeffrey Burandt.
Burandt.
Burandt, I am sorry. I am
No
very
worries.
sorry.
No
Already
worries.
the start of the
Ian
show, folks.
Mylar.
I already the start of the folks. The start of the show, folks. I've already messed up. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it.
Ah, it's great having you on here. As I always love being new creators to me, because I always believe that the indie community is relatively small, but we should all stick together.
Sure. Are you going to New York Comic Con this week?
Oh, absolutely. I am definitely going.
All right, me too. Maybe we should meet up in person then.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about your projects that you have.
Sure.
Uh, Obviously, let's talk about Ghost Planet first.
Yes. Ghost Planet is a 40-page, done in one shot sci-fi horror. It was released by Scout Comics and is available through their store. It's about a family of deep space explorers who finds what they think could be a home. It's what they think is going to be a hospitable planet. Immediately, the son or brother, a young man dies on the planet when they encounter an alien life form. And then soon it seems like the son's ghost begins to haunt their ship. And so, and then other family members begin to disappear, uh, and the remaining family members have to solve the mystery of Ghost Planet before they're next. It's got lots of body horror, and so I often say it's, um, an episode of Lost in Space, um, as directed by um, the Thing director,
Oh, Carpenter, very nice
Carpenter. Yeah,
choice.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
And you
now,
get a full
sorry, yeah.
meal. Like I said, it's 40 pages, co-created by artist Sean Von Gorman, who has a popular series out right now called The Pedestrian, uh, uh, from Magma Comics. So we made it together, and like I said, you get a whole meal for, I think the regular cover is $6. We have a Mike Allred variant that you can get from Scout for $10. We've got Tess Fowler variants, a glow in the dark 1 in 100 variant for $50. So we've got lots of cool covers and everything. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this is some great cover art. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So that's by Sean. That's like the main cover. That if you just ordered the book at a comic store that you would have gotten. And then you can see the Alred one is the girl astronaut floating in space. And that was the 1 in 10, I think, retailer variant. So for every 10 you ordered, you got one of those.
Wow.
Um, and that was a big coup to get Mike Allred. I'm obviously a big fan. And then his wife, Laura Allred, colored it.
Wow. Spectacular. And
Um,
this one?
that's Sean Von Gorman. That's their Whatnot Scout Comics variant. So um, while you can get it from us at cons and stuff, but otherwise it's only available through the Scout website.
Wow. What prompted you to create Ghost Planet? What was your inspiration for that?
Um, Initially, I think I'd heard of the term of a ghost planet in college, and immediately I drew kind of I still have it in my notebook. I drew like just a planet with kind of a skull, like where the continents created a skull, and kind of drew this like pulpy cover. for what would be, at the time, I hadn't even imagined it as a comic story. And in fact, I wrote it as the reason why I moved to New York was I worked and received my MFA in fiction writing from Brooklyn College. And so I had worked on it as a prose short story first.
Hmm.
And then when the opportunity presented itself to make it into a comic, I kind of had this outline already. So I really worked backwards from, I wanted it to be, somewhat hard sci-fi, and how do we create this idea of apparitions of ghosts in that sort of world. And so worked backwards. So, there's some twists and maybe misapprehensions by the characters involved about what's going on. Uh,
Oh,
and then the pandemic happened, and we went in lockdown, and and so Sean and I made this very quickly. We made it within about a month's time, and pitched it around. And Scout was kind of the big. We had a couple of yeses, and Scout was kind of the biggest publisher that said yes.
yeah, they're definitely one of the best. Yeah, so that has to be that would have been very exciting, to automatically say yes to probably what this particular company as well as the other yeses.
Yeah, it was encouraging, and we were submitting finished work. So now, once we got the deal, we went back and made some small fixes and such. But other than that, so I mean, that's kind of the way the work. I mean, I guess it depends on the publisher, but oftentimes you're submitting something finished now, at least like the first several issues before I think an indie comics publisher is going to say yes or no,
Yeah,
because they don't want to get on a schedule that creators can't meet, and solicit things, and have deadlines be missed.
yeah. Well, it's a smart way of doing it.
Sure.
Okay, so this is obviously a one shot. It's about 40 pages long.
Mhm.
Was it always designed to be a one shot?
Yes. While we have imagined what a sequel could be, um, given the ending. Yes, it was, like I said, I had written it as a short story, so I knew I had a vision of the family. I was always going to be a family, um, and I had a vision of what the answer was. I knew what the ending was. And so I had a pretty strong, I would say, skeleton of a story, such that scripting it for a comic made it pretty quickly. And it's in 4 chapters, I would say. Um, and so it was all about hitting um, kind of a cliffhanger chapter beat about every 10 pages.
Okay, well, that seems pretty straightforward. But you said a little bit about the ending there, or was left off. So it could be a possibility for a sequel at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is, like I said, they're deep space explorers. There's mention of that they're coming from, and they are humans coming from a mothership of sorts. So, what happens when they stop reporting back, um, is kind of the idea of like, what wave of people would come next, and how would this kind of the fauna of Ghost Planet react?
All right. Well, this sounds very exciting, and I'm glad it's only 40 pages because that way I can get to read it much faster. I won't have to wait for the next issue. So, Ghost Planet is available at scoutcomics.com,
Yeah.
and the link is down below.
And what's great is it becomes, it's evergreen in that way. We get to like a trade paperback or a graphic novel. We're selling you a complete story. We referred to it often when we were promoting it initially as a graphic novella, like Frankenstein was a novella at 120 pages or what have you.
Good. So there's that. Obviously, you have another book that you published through Omni Press and Simon and Schuster.
Yeah.
So would you like to talk about that?
Sure. So that was Ozz Schnozz and the Odd Squad with co-creator Dennis Culver, who did the art. He's probably better known now for writing some Batman comics in the last few years, and I think he did a Doom Patrol run. And then, so that's a 160-page graphic novel that came out from Oni. It was originally released as 7 digital issues for 7 weeks consecutively, and then on the 8th week, the trade paperback hit stores.
Wow.
And it tells the story of a group of teens in a punk band in Plano, Texas, which is where I grew up, who discover ties to kind of like, I don't know, a science fiction lab of sorts. And so they have this big sci-fi adventure when this talking chimp shows up their rehearsal one day. So our elevator pitch is Josie and the Pussycats meets X-Files. So they kind of have this big grand adventure. At the time when we made it, I was in my science fiction rock band Americans UK. And so we made a soundtrack to it such that, there's lots of songs in the book. And anytime you encounter a song, you can, to this day, go on Bandcamp and listen to the song. We produced it. We got one of the producers and keyboardists' nieces was 16 at the time and in School of Rock herself. And so she could sing like a 16-year-old girl would, and it matched, so we could actually make songs, by the band Ozz Schnozz and the Odd Squad.
That'd have been cool to even do that. Come up with songs, to go with the story, and you can sneak a couple of the lyrics in there. That'd have been cool.
That's exactly what we did, and it also it helped us get a lot of press. I was able to get, this book is coming up on 10 years old next year, so at the time we were able to get a lot of press. It's just too bad we were ahead of the game on like QR codes, because that would have been nice to like throw some QR codes and stuff like that into the actual pages where it would bring up the song directly instead of telling people go to Bandcamp.
Yeah. well, you never know. If you do another edition of it, like maybe when you get to the 20th anniversary, maybe you could like, what? Let's create some QR codes and put them for the songs.
That's a good idea. Let's start a letter writing campaign to Oni Press. Heck, just buying the book would from the Simon and Schuster site would help in any causes in that direction.
Yeah, in fact, let's drive up the sales of this book, folks, because otherwise, we might want to do a 20th anniversary, when we get there, or maybe the 10th anniversary. Maybe we want to do it sooner. So
yeah,
let's buy some copies now.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still I get my quarterly reports. It's had a long life. There's always a few books, and I'm able to sell them well at conventions and stuff too.
Yeah, especially with this type of cover, because like this in Ghost Planet, with those type of covers, it gets the audience interested, because then they could look at it and go, "What's this?"
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's very kind of an iconic cover, and you can't see it in the digital image, but it has this beautiful spot gloss. So the ape really kind of like glimmers, that silhouette of the chimp that is the yellow in profile. It really shines on the book. Oni did a really great job.
Yeah, since you go into your Comic-Con, I have to try to find you and say, "Hey, do you have a copy?"
Sure. I mean, my suspicion is that if you went to a comic book store, I bet Diamond still, has them in their warehouses somewhere. So, and if not, I know you can buy it from Simon and Schuster or Oni directly. There's always copies on Amazon too.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fantastic, though. So this is also another one-shot type of deal.
Yeah, it's a full trade paperback, so it's a full graphic novel. Probably still to this date, probably the longest thing I've ever published. There was We were going for a second series, but by the time it was produced and we got there, kind of the editor who had brought us on, like everyone, there had been turnover, and I don't know, you know, not to any way throw shade on the editors that then worked on the book with us, but the ones who kind of like shepherded it along and brought it into the fold and were responsible for publishing it in the first place were gone. And I don't know, I guess we just didn't make um, we got a lot of fantastic reviews, but that doesn't always equal sales. I'm sure if it had been a sales juggernaut, we could have gotten a second book easily, but
Well,
it just wasn't in the cards.
it happens, especially when you have new hands taking over, these companies, and the ones that that got you hired, they move on to other things in the life, other places they want to do. Sometimes they start their own companies, but again, sometimes with a change of hands, they want a different direction, so it's understandable.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you do have the second series idea, I think you should still pitch it to somebody because I think they'll definitely want it.
Dennis and I have talked about that. We've talked about, I think, if we wanted, we could get the rights back, and we've talked about um, shopping it around. So it's definitely a possibility.
Well, I guess as they say, we'll see what happens.
What's also a unique curio about the book is that you see that third name on there is Villalobos, and that was Ramon Villalobos's first published work, also as our colorist.
Wow.
He became obviously more famous as a kind of a very detailed, Frank Quietly, grandpa-like artist. And so, but yeah, so that was his first published work also.
Wow. That's fantastic. It's always nice to know that people that you work with have move on to other things,
Yeah,
and you're like, you know what? I worked with them first.
sure.
I worked with them first.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an indie comics creator, I mean, you either give up or you don't. You just kind of gotta taking your shots, pitching. I've always got things that are like things you're pitching and things that I'm making on my own in the background, and I'm going to publish no matter what. Like
Yeah.
Ozz Schnozz, for example, was a pitch that got accepted. It wasn't. It became a labor of love because you have to put in a lot of sweat equity when making a comic book, um, especially if it's not corporate backed or a licensed property. You're going to spend time more than a company's going to spend money, but it was an idea that worked for Oni, and then I had to write the story and make the book, as opposed to Ghost Planet, where it's something I had been kind of honing as a story for years, and then when the opportunity arose, I was able to like knock it out quickly. This was almost the opposite. This took a long time to make. Multiple artists came on and off the book over the years that Oni had signed me to write it, as they kind of moved through artists that could and couldn't do it. And it was, I feel like other than corporate owned comics, you don't get books this size that much anymore, especially from indie comics. Everyone's doing like, under 92 to 100 pages, like basically 4 issues collected in a trade. whereas this is 7, and yeah, that just you don't get that much anymore. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, it's actually true what you said because you're right. We don't see that type of you know level and number of pages in these type of graphic novels, especially with you when you said 7 issues. And I'm only working on 5 issues of my series, so I gotta.
But that's a good amount though. I mean, I feel like that's, and unless you're self-publishing, you can do it however you want. You're kind of, people are looking for a trades length, indie publishers are looking for a trades length worth of stuff, because now they want a book, not single issues, really.
Yeah, they want a whole collection of the story. Not the just 1 issue, 2 issue, 3 issue, and so on. Because
Yeah,
again, they want a complete story because they want to see okay if it's going to be profitable.
sure, yeah,
Yeah, there's always a give and take with that, folks, because you can see the value of saying, yeah, it's probably better to have a full collection of your issues, but sometimes they can't see, what it's like to have, the readers experience issue by issue, because then they could ask you questions like, well, when's the next issue going to come out? What's going to
yeah.
happen? Is he going to make it? Stuff like that.
Well, I'd say, other than I think there's some newer publishers on the scene like Mad Cave and Magma who are operating, I think, in different ways because of essentially the funding that they have. But like some of the more traditional indie comics publishers, like of the last decade, a Source Point or a Scout, they're like, even if they like what you're pitching, they're not going to say yes until you have at least 3 made,
Yeah.
just because they need you to be that far ahead of the game, to say yes, because they don't want to just like hold on to, the rights deals last like, I think, 5 years in the first place, so you can't take 3 years to make your comic.
No,
And
no.
you know
Yeah. No, you have to be very quick on it and, make sure that everything's done. So once you're ready to go, they're like, okay, we're going to buy it.
yeah.
Well, so check this out as well. And again, it's on simonschuster.com. And of course, there are copies you can buy at Amazon.
Yeah, but we'd prefer go to your local comic book store, maybe put
Yeah,
in a special order through them.
absolutely. We have to keep the comic book stores alive.
Jim Hanley's Universe JHU was always a big supporter of this book. So I always appreciated that in the
Yeah,
city here.
yeah. I've always loved that store.
Yeah, there's not a Manhattan location anymore, unfortunately.
I know, and I was completely heartbroken by that one, especially when they announced. I was like, no, that was one of my safe sanctuaries.
Yeah, yeah, and it
Yeah.
moved around a lot over the years, but
Well, they're still in business, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe
It's
someday they'll come back in Manhattan. Maybe someday, but I don't know.
yeah, they're over on what, New Dorp and Staten Island now, their original store.
Yeah. Okay, so now you actually have another comic that you're working on, but it's actually on Kickstarter.
Yes, that's right. It is live right now. We funded on our first day. Here, I've got a flyer. It's probably backwards, but you can see the Gonad the Barbarian. It is 100 pages of barbarian action and naughty jokes, basically. So there you go. It's by me and artist Blake Sims. Like I said, we finished it first. It's like somewhere between Conan the Barbarian, by way of Rick and Morty. So it's that kind of uh, over the top violence and jokes. I often describe it as He-Man told as a dick joke. I think my love of He-Man really comes through, and it's something that I came up with in about 6th grade. Hence, the hack joke. when I was just growing out of my He-Man toys, and Conan the Barbarian or Conan the Destroyer was on like HBO, like on repeat. And as a wannabe cartoonist, even back then, drawing a circle with an angry face and a sword was doable. And so years later, there was in the early 2010s, I me and some other comic creators, Dean Haspiel, the late Seth Kushner, and Chris Miskevich, we created this online digital magazine, and we were just like, we didn't even use the term content yet, but we were churning out content. And so I thought of that idea I had as a kid. And at the time, like I said, I was in a rock band, and I was already, how I got hooked up with those guys is I was self-publishing the sci-fi adventures of my real life rock band. And in fact, that's how Ozz Schnozz started. It was basically like the 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 young adult or all ages version of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll comic I was already making about my band, where it took us as real band members but threw us into crazy sci-fi stories, and had lots of curse words and stuff. And so what we would do is we would make comic panels that were you know, a 4:3 aspect or whatever, like we're looking at right now, so that they could move horizontally. And we would put on these live readings, these Trip City live readings, where we would read because you could take comics you already made, kind of like before webtoons, and just cut them up so that they read horizontally, and like zoom in on the lyrics. And so we do these live readings, and that evolved into my band would play like atmospheric, kind of science fiction-y music, or light jazz and stuff behind the readers. And then we wrote a song called Gonad the Barbarian, and made kind of like a comic book music video out of it. And then I don't know, it would tickle people. And my wife thought it was a really funny concept. She's like, this is the one you got to work on. So Blake and I made the book. We pitched it around, and it was amazing. We would get, a lot of pitches you send out into the world, you just never hear anything. And we would always hear back. We would always get a no on Going At It. It would always be, ha ha ha, this is hilarious. No way. um, and so I was like, all right, well, there's something there. And, like I said, it's already finished. So we wanted to set a small amount on Kickstarter, just enough for us to print up enough copies to send to readers, and then have enough to sell at, on our tables when we go to cons and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think we'll find our people with this one. It's Blake's artwork is amazing. He's a fantastic cartoonist. Yeah, if you keep scrolling, you'll see some preview pages. That Zombies Attack, that was an early one of kind of our comic book music videos that we would make. There's even a YouTube video of us performing the song, like I was telling you. And so we just made it. And so we made it for, I think we started making it for webtoons at the time. So there's a few, like the first couple of chapters are on webtoons to this day. And so we were doing the vertical scroll thing. And then at some point, I just wanted to move faster, and I didn't care about webtoons. I was like, let's just make the book. So we did, and now we're just looking to print it, and we're going to. We made our goal, and so we're just trying to sell. It's basically you're pre-ordering a book. I don't think there's any risks because of this, other than like short of absolute disaster. But it's a finished book. We've made our funding, so we're just trying to get to pre-sell more copies so that we can print more copies, because obviously the more you print, the lower costs are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like Blake's cartoon style. It really has like kind of a Fantagraphics sort of artsy indie comics vibe, but like also has that really great classic cell coloring. You know, he hand letters everything. And then and so one of the things I'm trying to get through to the indie comics community is, you know, one of our levels is our commissions from Blake, so you can get a cover for your indie comic, and we have some cover samples of what he's done, or you know, commission whatever character you want, and you know, whether it's a Marvel or DC character or one of your own indie covers, rather indie characters, and then you also get the book and everything like that. So I'm hoping now that we've made our print goal that some indie people, comics people, will take us up on this, because he's one of those artists which for me, when I was a youth, that's why I fell in love with the Image guys, right? Like there's nothing cooler than seeing Todd McFarlane or Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee draw a character you had, like kind of put it through the lens of their style. And then I think Blake's style is so funny to me that it is so fun to see characters through the lens of his style.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see why this is appealing, because again, especially for Rick and Morty fans, because it has that type of, you know, very simple yet insanely out there style,
Yeah.
and it totally works. It really, it really ups the really complements the writing. I think, especially the universe that you guys created.
Yeah. And so I would love to do more of these. This is like it has more of a, well, first of all, it's obviously inspired by Conan, and so it can be very episodic. It's almost like a series like those early Conan stories that are shorter, that were you know, a series of short stories that start to like build as you get further into the book, which also mirrors how we created it, because we were creating these short things to push out to Trip City at the time, the digital magazine I was talking about, and then webtoons, and then it was like, you know, let's just make this thing, and then that opened it up to like just a longer, bigger arc. But in a lot of ways, it's like a Silver Age comic in that it's can be just one damn thing after another. So I could just keep writing this silliness forever, especially since it's such kind of a pop culture remix. It's fun to do, and there's not that like that need to like, all right, we got to really fulfill this twist ending we've been building up to. We just want to put an axe through, you know, the physical representation of venereal disease. So let me tell you about our characters. We got Gonad the Barbarian, who is as told in both the song and the beginning story. There was basically a Conan like barbarian who had a prophecy that he would say this is they're operating on the magical planet of Perineum, and he was going to save Perineum, but then he gets tortured to death, and part of that torture is castration. But to fulfill the prophecy, one of his testicles comes alive and begins to wander the world as a barbarian himself, riding on a kitten as his battle cat. He's got, you can see there, the wizard Larry, who is a magical dingleberry. He's got an ally named Red Groinia, and they're trying to find the blood sword before his arch enemy Deathwort does, and they fight kooky characters such as Lady Swelling and the Crimson Patch, who is of course a pirate.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As you're describing it to me, I'm imagining it being animated. If I'm being honest.
Right? I kind of was surprised. I was surprised publishers didn't go for it because I thought, some of the most popular things in the world are these gross out humor cartoons on Adult Swim, like Rick and Morty, like Family Guy, with like the kind of the funny but dumb jokes I'm telling you right now,
Yeah.
the puns and the
How could they not say yes to this? This is
I don't know. I think it looks beautiful. Yeah, heck, if this Kickstarter's a bigger success, maybe they'll say yes.
yeah. Well, let's make sure that it actually is a big success because I think people need to really read the series.
So again, it's 100 pages. We've got I think the early bird might end tonight, but we've got or tonight or tomorrow, we've got the 100 pages digitally you can get for $10 on the early bird or 15. Then we've got the 100-page book where you get both the print, uh, I'm sorry, you get the print copy and the digital copy, and our shipping is included in the price you see. So you're not going to get any added shipping fees after. So that's straight up $40 for the trade paperback, the digital copy for your iPad, and you get a free song. And then we have a variant cover that is which features what we call the venereal villains.
Mm,
Um, Here's some of Blake's commission samples. We've got some
wow.
Godzillas. We've got the Creeper, which is a favorite of mine.
Oh, I like that.
Mike Myers for Halloween.
Yeah, definitely get this for especially for Halloween, folks. Ooh, Alien.
um, and then what? So this is that's our variant cover right there in our cover section, which features the venereal villains and all of our heroes.
Wow.
Um, Americans UK, that was the name of my sci-fi rock band I was telling you about, and these were one of the first times Blake and I ever worked together. Was he did our cover and some comics inside of that, and then we used to project and perform the songs that we would make, like we were saying with Ozz Schnozz. The lyrics to the song would be the caption boxes and dialogue for the characters within, so we could just show each panel um, as it went along with the song.
Wow.
And if once we're done here, if you go back into that YouTube video, you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had a song called Zombies Attack that Blake turned into a comic book that you see there. And so that's the song that you get with every level of donation you get from the digital copy all the way through to the print copies.
Wow.
So Blake had a self-published comic called Logor there, so you can see that he is also a big kind of barbarian warrior fan, um, that he did it himself. And now you've gotten to our stretch goals there, where uh, we want to keep it simple. So you'll get more digital comics. We want to print that as a fold-out poster if we make a couple grand. And then other than that, I think we would put all stretch goals like back into the book, like better cover, maybe some spot gloss, do nice things and things like that. I kind of don't want to get into making a bunch of tchotchkes that I have to ship and things like that. So we're trying to keep it simple and make it really about, hey, we made a book, we want to print it and put it in your hands.
Hey, especially Simple works very well. And this is your first Kickstarter campaign?
No, Jason Gongor and I did one for a book called Killer Bad, which imagined like a 90s group of outlaw superheroes, like an X-Force, say, if they accidentally put Jason Voorhees on the team and he proceeds to murder them all. So it's called Killer Bad #1. We're working on #2 now, but it's another kind of done in one. Like each book is supposed to takes place like 20 years apart. So
Oh,
there's like these connecting threads and themes, but they're supposed to read like very short movies where you get the beginning and end of the comic. So that's Killer Bad 1, 22 page. I mean, it looks like a 90s image book. I think if you went to my profile, you could probably find our successful campaign for Killer Bad. And so yeah, we did. That was a very successful one. We made like, I don't know, over $7,000, and so I'm able to sell that at my my table today for $5. We had some cool variant covers and all that. So it's actually my third Kickstarter. So I did 2 comic ones, and back in the day when I was in in that band Americans UK, we in the very early days of Kickstarter, we did a vinyl record.
Wow!
Successfully printed a vinyl record.
Okay, so this is your third campaign, and you can kind of see how Kickstarter is actually, advanced, because you said the Kickstarter, the first Kickstarter you did was, when the company was still, fine tuning, finding itself.
Yeah, it was a brand new thing. It would have been like, I don't know, 2011 or 12, pretty early days.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why it doesn't show up on my profile, because I think we created our own like Gmail for it. I don't even know how I would access that anymore.
That's amazing. So going at the Bulgarian 100 pages. I love the name. I love the name. Yeah, I would not be surprised that once you meet your goals and all that, you obviously met your goal, obviously, but when people see this more, they're gonna want to say, "Hey, we need another one. We also need an animated series."
I would love that. I mean,
what do we have to do to make this happen?
I know. Yeah. Get people to go to this Kickstarter, man. I'll be at New York Comic Con. Like I held up my little flyer here, my handbill. Like I said, I was in a punk rock band, so this is what I do. Now it's got a QR code on it. So if I see you at New York Comic Con, I'll be handing you that, and scan the QR code. It'll take you to the webpage we're looking at now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited about the convention, especially it's coming this Thursday through Sunday. A lot of exciting stuff. Gonna be meeting some very exciting people. Jeffrey, I'm gonna be meeting you, obviously.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. Okay, so please check out this Kickstarter, and just you'll enjoy it. Trust me. I think from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing about, you'll enjoy it.
I hope so. I think so. It is funny. It makes me laugh. It makes us laugh.
Yes.
It makes my wife laugh, which is difficult.
I hope she's not here. I hope she's not close by listening to you. No. But yeah, check it out. Of course, also check out Jeffrey's other titles.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to Jeff Writes, JEFWRITES.com, you can find links to all my comics that I've made before. I'm lucky enough to have, I don't know, I've been involved in a lot of anthologies. I got a story into heavy metal that was super cool. Little things like that. I gotten into. There you go. Got into the Love is Love anthology, which means I've been published by DC Comics, for example, because of that. And so yeah, I'm always just kind of like pitching away.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You definitely got into Midtown Comics. I remember this now.
Yeah. We did. I remember. I mean, Midtown. I'm downtown right now, so that downtown on Fulton is like my store right now, because it's where I can go in, and that was my rock band Americans UK. I thought.
Yeah, so check that out as well.
Yeah, we all had kids, so the band is no more, but you can still get all of our stuff.
Yeah.
Still on Spotify, still on Apple Music and all that.
Hey, that still helps, because again, people of my generation could actually discover you and say, "Wow, this is a great band. How come we never heard of these guys?" And also, can we do a reunion? I don't know.
There's always we have a single we'd like to release. I think we'll be able to get to that. I think my problem is I've very high standards of what I want to release, and so like if you click around our website, you'll see we made some really high quality music videos. And so I want to do that again. But when everyone has kids and we used to all live in the same Brooklyn neighborhood, and now we're scattered throughout the city and in the suburbs, half the band's in Jersey, the other half's upstate, and I'm still in Brooklyn. But so it's just not as easy to get together and make these cool things anymore. I always
Well,
like collaborative stuff,
yeah,
It's comics.
yeah. Life takes over, and it's usually for. I think it's for better, rather than
Yeah,
worse. It's definitely for better.
yeah. The bandwidth just gets smaller.
Yeah.
I found.
Well, I hope to God that I actually helped you and we helped you. Give you more exposure.
Well, thank you, Ian, and I look forward. I would love to meet you at New York Comic Con, and I'd love to hear about, talk to you about Triple Threat comics. You're new in my world, and so I look forward to learning more about you.
Well, as it happens, before we go, I'm actually going to plug in a bit.
Great.
So let me just show you what my title that I'm working on. This is my sci-fi spy thriller series, Codename Hunter. The picture
Wow.
James Bond meets Star Trek meets Star Wars, and just a dash of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice. Looks good.
Yeah,
And what is your role in the creative team?
I write it, I illustrate it, I color it, I letter it.
Cool. So you're a cartoonist straight up and down.
Yeah. It's only until after my third issue where I'm actually going to have an inker come in and ink the rest of my books
Hmm.
because, it's not easy, folks, creating a comic just by yourself.
For sure.
So I'm always appreciative having, my friends come in and ink or color my stuff. And this is the third issue cover that was done by me and my inker, Enrique Lopez.
Cool.
And I was very pleased that he wanted to do this series. And I had to finish issue 4, and give it to him because we got to sell issue 4 in the next 2 conventions that we're going to be going to in March and April of next year.
Which conventions?
I actually had the information. One of them is Indie Comic Con. They're both in Connecticut, and the other one was, I think, Super Jersey.
I want to go. I think I heard of that Indie Comic Con last year. Because
Yeah,
didn't they kickstart that?
yeah, they did. They did
I would
Kickstarter.
like to be a part. I would like to try to be a part of that next year. So we'll talk about that too. Hey, will you do me a favor in that search bar? I want to see. They used to have my. If you type Americans plural dash UK, I wonder if our old comics come up
Okay.
in Indie Planet.
Oh, I didn't play. Okay.
Yeah. We used to because if you print using Kablam,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So what is it?
Uh,
Americans.
Space UK.
Okay, let's see.
I wonder if they still host.
Ah,
No,
let's see it.
not anymore.
Yeah.
Too old. That was circa like we started with 2007 to 2009 is when we were making those comics. So they
Well,
probably wanted to free up some space, some server space.
yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Well,
um,
maybe you'll get a resurgence.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeffrey, thank you for coming on again and talking to me.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you. I will digitally chat offline, and I'd love to meet up. I'll be there definitely Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't think I'm going to come Sunday.
Okay. I'll try to see you either Thursday or Friday. I'll try to see you.
Sounds good. Sound good. We'll hook it up.
Yeah. Well, folks, I think that's going to be it for us tonight. I'm Ian Miller, and this has been Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.